Interesting. It's just like when I started at Lake Superior. Lake Superior looked like the ocean. Now getting here close to the end, Lake Okeechobee. Water as far as the eye can see, and it looks like the ocean. Huh. It's interesting, these commonalities between the beginning and the end. Lake Okeechobee. I'm at the north end of the Lake Okeechobee. And I stayed here in town for a couple days, rest up. You know that this almost 12 to 14 days on, and it really wears you down. So this next leg is only going to be 4 days, maybe even 3 if I move it on out, and then another 2 days off, Lewiston, and then onward in through the swamp, and then another couple days off in Florida City, and then 8 to 10 days down the Keys. So let's get a move on here. As usual, late start. And so where we're headed is mostly on the dike around the whole lake. And I think it's, what, 40-50 miles is the size of the lake. Then once we get to Moorhaven, got to go on a road because they're working on the dike, and so the trail's closed. And then into Lewiston. So Moorhaven to Lewiston is going to be 17. I think the total for this lake is just going to be 52, 53 miles. So if I'm motivated, even though I got a late start, maybe I can do it in 3 days. Otherwise, just take it easy, do it in 4 days. Let's head on out that way, west. Okay, so we're going to go on the west side of the lake. Ready, set, go! On the 2 days off that I had there in the town of Okeechobee, I was reading the comments from the hikers that had already come through the section. And there's one hiker, you probably know of her, Dixie. Her channel is Homemade Wanderlust. And I was kind of hoping that we'd cross paths, but I think that she got into town yesterday based upon the time and date of her comments up ahead. And then I just left town this morning, so I'm guessing that we probably crossed paths somewhere. And I think she's usually an early starter, so she probably got out of town before me. Anyway, she's heading northbound, and so I thought at one time we would cross each other's paths, but oh well, not to be. And then there's another hiker behind me that's going southbound. You may know of her as well, Smiles. Her channel is Daisy Hikes, but she's just zooming down the trail, and I mean, she probably does 2 to 3 days hiking to my 1 day. So I'm almost thinking that she's going to catch up to me by the time I get down to Big Cypress. So we'll see. Mile marker 59. I'm zooming out the gate here. It's a 3.5 mile an hour pace. This last mile. Maybe I should step it back a little bit before I flame out. Okay, so you know how I was mentioning Dixie? See, I know you. Smiles? Well, I ran into Dixie. Here she is.
Small world. The backpacking world's a small one.
And Marty, right? That's right, Marty. So I ran into him just randomly, just like that. And so go check out her channel at homemadewanderlust.com.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. And she's going north. They're going south.
Yes.
I'm going south. They're going north.
We're high-fiving as we pass.
All right. See you later. Here's an old friend. We've been together for a while now, but this will be the last time we see each other. The Kissimmee River. It's upstream from where we came. And this is where it flows into Lake Okeechobee. Goodbye, old friend. It's been fun. It's been nice. It's been dandy. Now, let's see if we can walk the bridge here without getting run over. Yeah, it's nice to be on dirt trail again. We're coming now around the northwest side of Lake Okeechobee. It's really windy. I'm trying to protect the wind here. So this is about I don't know, mile and a half from back there where the bridge was. And this would be the canal on the west side of the lake. And then the lake is out there beyond the marsh. Got a pretty significant headwind, so although I'm keeping up a pretty good pace, oh, my shoe came in tight. Still, you know, you feel the wind at your head. Oh, busy day today. I just met another hiker going northbound. You know, I always think too late to take a picture, but there he is right there. Daniel, good luck. Good luck on your hike. He started at Big Cypress and he's heading north. He had a hiking buddy with him and the swamp wasn't hiking buddy's cup of tea, so hiking buddy said, "Ah, you're on your own, Daniel." And so anyway, gee, I wonder if we're gonna come up with anybody else up here. Well, here's S127 lock. You want to see how it works? So this is the canal that rings pretty much around the lake. So you got the dike here. You got the lake over here to the east, and this is Buckhead Ridge over here. So if a boat wants to get out onto the lake, they come up here to the gates here, and they'll, I think there's a buzzer or a bell over there. They'll press that, which notifies the lock tender, and then they'll open up the gates for them, and then the boat comes in right here. And you see these ropes here? So the people they bring their boat in and they hang on to the ropes. And then the gate closes, the other gate opens up and fills up the lock, and then they go right through, and then on out to Lake Okeechobee. And then, of course, repeat the process if they're on their way. And just like with a traffic signal on the street, look at this. They do have signals right there. So this is how a lock works here on Lake Okeechobee. And I need to look for some water. There's supposed to be a spigot over here. Alright. Howdy. Alright, I got some water out of the hose. Filled it up. I talked to the lock master here. He says it's city water, but there's a sign here that says, no, don't drink it. So I got the filter on here. If you don't hear from me again, you know what happened. You know, I bet that'd be a pretty non-stressful job, just being a lock tender there. Just basics of your job is just waiting around, waiting for boats to come through. I suppose it can maybe get a little busy on weekends and holidays maybe, but if you needed a job or you needed some peace and quiet, or if you needed to do some studying, like if you're doing some schooling, whether it's for bachelor's or master's or anything like that, I guess that'd be the perfect job, huh? There's an airboat coming. You know, those airboats, they go pretty fast and they're pretty loud too. Maybe it gets to be an interesting ride, huh? Alright. Look at that big cloud trying to develop. Wow. Well, if it does develop into anything, at least it's downwind from me, so the likelihood of it coming and getting me is not so high. Wind's pretty strong. I got a pretty strong headwind. I think it's about 14, 15 miles an hour. And there's a slight chance of rain tonight, but then tomorrow it's really cooling off. I think it's dropping about 15 degrees. Take a look at that. Huh. All those rays coming through the clouds. A nice end of the day pick-me-up, I guess. Somebody's watching. Well, big change in the weather this morning. Yep, mosquitoes already. It's about a 35-degree difference from yesterday. And yes, I had to use the tent last night. Those mosquitoes, man, even though it was windy, those mosquitoes were swarming. And it was raining a little bit. So down here below the dike here, and the goal is that way. I think it's only going to be 72 today. It's about 53 right now, 52. So let's get a move on. I'm freezing. And wouldn't you know that I sent my warm jacket back the other day to somebody's house for safekeeping. Nice little place here. Oh, and look, I've got some friends there across the canal. You know, it's really interesting. These cows here, yesterday, have continued to be scaredy cows. Even when I was up walking on the dike there yesterday, and I passed some other pastures, those cows would be looking at me and then take off. I don't know if it's the scary look, the smell. Well, it couldn't have been the smell because the wind wasn't going that way. But I'm telling you, you Florida cows, you're all scaredy cows. Yeah, they aren't paying attention right now. Okay, let's get going. Boy, it's cold today, this morning. What makes it feel colder is the wind. But the nice thing about the wind, though, is that it's a tailwind, so it's a pretty stiff wind, too, so it might push me along so that I get enough miles today so that I can make this section a 3-day leg instead of 4. So let's see what happens. I realized I haven't really mentioned a whole lot about Lake Okeechobee, and now that I'm kind of turning away from it, in fact I've actually kind of turned away from it yesterday, thought I'd give you a little bit of information on it. So Lake Okeechobee right now, it's the 8th largest natural freshwater lake in the United States, and to use an even different, a more precise description, it's the 2nd largest natural freshwater lake, completely contained within the borders of the 48 contiguous United States. But anyway, it's about 730 square miles, and for the size of it, the average depth is only 9 feet, I think, 9 to 13 feet. That's one statistic I saw. Another statistic I saw was that it's about 13 feet average depth. Anyway, this is a canal. This is a feeder canal that goes between the lake out there to the canal that rings the lake. Anyway, so the lake is out here beyond these marshes here. So back in the 1830s, I think, was the first idea or attempt at getting rid of those dang blasted Everglades. So now Lake Okeechobee is technically the beginning of the Everglades. If you look on a map, I think I've got one right here. If you look on a map, it is fed by the Kissimmee River, which we've been following for a bit here. And then from there, the lake feeds into the Everglades. And if you look at all of southwest Florida, all of southwest Florida is, for the most part, the definition of where the Everglades are. So back in the 1830s, the powers that be in Fort Myers concocted this idea that if they could drain the swamp there, they would create a whole bunch of land for agriculture and create a land boom, and so then people would come through Lake Fort Myers, and Fort Myers would benefit economically from all the people coming through and all the industry that would need to be done to support all that. So they started trying to do that, and I think they tried to drain it through the Caloosahatchee River. I think that's what it's called. And to describe it in an article that I read, and if I got the article, I'll link it down in the description here. I think they said that the lake was the toilet, and then Florida Bay was the tank, and Fort Myers ended up being the sewer pipe that connected the two. So it was just a whole bunch of muck, and it really it didn't work out. And then what they also found is that the peat bogs, instead of draining, they would just get thicker and thicker and thicker, and then when they would catch on fire, they would burn and create all this smoke. I guess kind of like the smoke that's up ahead here. That didn't work out, and so then another plan was hatched to do some dredging and stuff. But then the ensuing Indian Wars and Civil War put those ideas on the kibosh. And then in the 1880s, I think it was, somewhere around there, a USDA engineer said, well, you know, you can make these canals and empty it out to the south and do all sorts of things. And so they tried to do that, but then they realized the guy didn't really have any knowledge about what he was doing, and so that didn't come to fruition. But they did end up building a little bit of a dike around part of the lake that was about 18 to 24 inches tall. And then fast forward to, I think, 1904 or 1906. And the idea was, what was the idea? I think I'm thinking about the same thing. Was to build those canals and stuff. And then fast forward in 1926, there was an engineer that said because of the low dikes, the 18 to 24 inches dikes, is that whenever there would be a high wind or a really severe weather event, like a hurricane, the water from Lake Okeechobee would just simply overrun the low dikes and just inundate whatever's on the other side. Now, back up a little bit. The town of Moorhaven that's ahead, as well as Clewiston, during these previous attempts at trying to tame, so to speak, Lake Okeechobee and the marshes and swamps that were around here, the town of Moorhaven had developed, and then the town of Clewiston developed also to house the agricultural workers. So anyway, now back to 1926, when this engineer said that the low dike would just, you got a false hope, but the high winds and the severe weather would just overrun it and kill people. Well, actually 2 days later, a Category 5 hurricane came through and killed 1/3 of the people in Moorhaven, including the engineer's wife and daughter. So after that, the attempts now at trying to tame Lake Okeechobee, instead of a reclamation process, had then turned into a flood control process. So the Army Corps of Engineers came in, and their plan was pretty much what you see today. Their plan was to build about a 35-foot tall dike around the lake. And then to control the flow of waters in the lake, they would dig canals and levees that would empty water out through the Caloosahatchee River to the west and the St. Lucie River out to the east. So emptying out to the Gulf of Mexico to the west and to the Atlantic to the east. And then subsequently a sequence of canals on the south side that would also discharge through the Everglades to keep the Everglades intact. So that's what you see today, in that the lake has been wrung, so to speak, by these tall levees, and then it's still fed through the Kissimmee River to the north, and then the water flow is controlled through the canals that connect to the St. Lucie and the Caloosahatchee rivers, and then also draining through the canals to the south. And through all that big mechanism, and that ties in with these pump houses and stuff that we've seen along here, the Corps of Engineers is able to keep the Lake Okeechobee at a pretty constant water level, anywhere from 12 to 13 and a half feet, or 13 and a half to 15 feet, something like that. So it's a relatively shallow depth, but a relatively constant depth as well. So you think of this, and you think of, like, if you're in a kitchen sink or a bathroom sink and you fill up the sink with water, you plug the drain, and then what you do is, this is an experiment you can do at home, is close the drain in the sink, turn the faucet on, and let the water start to fill up in the sink. And then once the water gets to a certain level in the sink, then slightly open the drain in the sink to the point where it matches the inflow of water from the faucet. Keep the faucet on. And that's basically what the plumbing system is all around this lake, is to just keep that water level at a pretty constant place. So pretty amazing. And up ahead here, I'm going to be turning away, and I'll show you again a map what it looks like. I'm going to be turning away from the lake, and eventually getting off the dike, because the Corps of Engineers is working on it. I think improving the pump houses and shoring up different places. So it's a pretty interesting engineering feat, and unlike others where it was just pure brute force that they've done to control water flows, with this one I think they've done a relatively good job of being able to contain the lake, mitigate the potential flooding risk, but at the same time they haven't destroyed the Everglades, and the Everglades still gets water to replenish itself and not get lost in the sea and get all filled up with poisonous junk and everything that flows out. So good deal. That's your Lake Okeechobee lesson for the video. I look at these scenes over there, and it seems like such a relaxing type of place to have these palm forests, if you will, with the open prairie and then the nice blue water right next to it. And you don't really get the sense of the sounds either. but the birds here are calling, and then it's the breeze riffling through the palm fronds. It's just a really peaceful setting. I mean, I shouldn't say this, otherwise I'm going to waste time. I could sit out here all day, you know, just sit right down here on the bank of the dike and ponder life. And today's a good day because it's only going to be 72. Don't give yourself any thoughts, Mike. Don't give yourself any thoughts. Make those miles. Make those miles. Here's a pretty nice house. I don't think you can get the depth of what it looks like. It's kind of like a little tropical paradise, but what keyed me in on it was this thatched hut type of structure on this dock here. And yeah, a little tropical paradise on the west side of Lake Okeechobee. I wonder who owns that. There's a couple people out there fishing too. Howdy. Well, here's the little community of Lakeport. I got up the dike there a couple miles back to get into town and get some stuff at the Circle K. But it's interesting to see the canal and dike from this perspective. So the dike and canal are over there. So this is what I would have been looking down on, or down upon, while walking on the dike. And then I'll catch back on to the dike here for a short period before I get to Moorhaven, before I get kicked off where the construction is going on. So it's kind of a pretty little, sleepy little area too. And this is kind of nice. Is this a park? Maybe I'll check it out. And I just walked by a house that was for sale over there. It was a nice big 2-story house and everything. 3 bedrooms right on the canal. $324,000. So this is pretty here. Huh. Hey, and that looks like that's where I need to go anyway. Alright, good thing I saw this. No, I can't go over there. That's private property. And there's a little piece of the canal blocking me. But here I see the road up here. That's where I need to go. It is pretty here though. Again, this almost reminds me a little bit of Hawaii. But you know what? If you're from here in Florida, this part of Florida, you know, this is no big deal. I mean, this is natural. And then they would probably say that maybe this reminds them a little bit of the Caribbean, huh? Or the Bahamas or something. It's interesting our different perspectives, you know, from the different places we live, right? Well, how about this? I'm set up early to hide myself from the mosquitoes. So no mosquito biting tonight. And just off, it's really an unofficial place. Right off the canal there. There's a pump station right there, and then there's a road right over there. But the reason I set up here is because the wind was really whipping from the northeast, and it's going to shift to the north. So I'm in this little draw right here that's providing a nice windbreak. And it's going to get down to 55 tonight. It's a little chilly. And my sleeping bag, you know, I swapped it out. I got rid of my down bag a few weeks ago. And swapped it out for my synthetic bag that really only, it only gets me to 55, so I'm on the limit tonight. So today was about 15.5 miles, and tomorrow, if I try and make a straight shot, it's going to be 23, I think. So maybe 22. So I think what I'm going to do is just do 2 short days, these next 2 days. Get into Clewiston, and I'll get into Clewiston early on that day. And then, like I said before, I'm going to take another 2-day break. So actually, by getting into Clewiston early, that'll give me an extra half day, so to speak. So 2.5 days for the price of 2. How about that? So that's the update for tonight. And what do we say at night? Nighty night. Pretty busy goings on here.